What is good, my dear people? Welcome to this channel. My name is Left Lucas, and today I'm presenting a brand new video format for this channel. So for this format, I'm breaking down some of my best projects for you, so you can hopefully take some of the knowledge and the techniques out of that and implement it for your own banger projects. For this very special premiere, I want to take a very special song breakdown, namely this one. So as you can probably guess from the title and also from the sound of the song, it's highly inspired by ISOxo. I'm in love with that guy. I was like listening to so many tracks of ISOxo in the last couple of weeks, watching live shows, kind of studying him. It definitely carries some inspiration from ISOxo, from Skrillex and Eliminate as well, since like all three of them are like, I just love them. I just love the sound that they create. So I got into it and I wanted to know like, okay, how can I kind of create a sound like that and implement it in my own style? And this is how I got to this project. Right now it doesn't have a name. It's called ISO Inspi Hard. So in order for you to hear the full track, I'm playing it from start to finish first, and then we'll get into every part and I'm pointing out like the special things about it which make it sound like how it sounds. So before we dive into the project, guys, I want to share something very special with you. If you are a producer, vocalist, or artist yourself, I have something for you, namely my brand new freebie pack. This freebie pack contains a full vocal pack of mine, so with lead vocals, with backing vocals, and also a completely free instrumental for you to record on if you are a vocalist and singer. And it also includes my free Alchemy Artist PDF guide, which is a checklist that you can open up before your next song session to make sure you get guaranteed better song results, with a lot of great tips on production, on mixing, also on gear that I have accumulated on there. So if you want to get all this amazing free stuff and start creating with that, then check out the link in my bio. Hit the link. I already said like link 2 times, and I'm happy to send the freebie pack to you. Now let's dive into the project. Let's get into it. I actually started with a drop, to be very honest, and I'm sending out so much love and good energy to my laptop right now that it is keeping the CPU on a good level, and we do not struggle in this video breakdown.
A few minutes later.
Oh my god! I fucking hate it. Alright guys, so what you didn't hear right now is that I had a little rant about the laptop. So the CPU it has a hard time. It's a big project though, but I think now it's working. For this specific project, I started with the drop. I started with the drop part. Like for many songs, I'm starting with like the main part. The first thing that is sticking out the most is definitely that. The first thing that is sticking out in that way is definitely the fake out in the beginning, right? This kind of like fake out drop with this boom, boom. I'm show you in a second. I was definitely inspired by the song. I think it's called Chamber or Chambers by ISOxo. So this fake out thing sounds like that. So what is basically making a sound is that one. Without the effects, without the mixing, it sounds like that. And it's basically, I think it is kind of like a slap house bass or something like that. So I was doing some shit here in Zerum. I was definitely putting a lot more distortion on. And also I put the compressor to multi-band. And no, I think it wasn't a slap house bass. It was a preset. It was definitely different than it sounds now. I was putting a lot of, so the thing it makes it sound so hard is mostly a lot of distortion in Zerum. And to make it sound a little bit more like, compressed and harder, what I put on is the DC mode. What I'm talking about, Decapitator from Sound Toys. And it definitely gives more, drive distortion to it. Which always sounds amazing. I was also cutting out some frequencies because there was too much going on at the lows and here. So that makes like, cool thing about that is that it is not just that bass sound playing. There is some impacts I've put under that as well. So these are the impact sounds that play at the same time with the bass. So it makes it hit even harder, or it sounds like it's harder. So that definitely makes like the whole sound harder, and it's right, it's bam bam and the kick hitting at the same time. So that is like the fake out thing. And what also makes it special is that kind of like metalish sound in between here. Okay, to show you how I made that one. So to be very honest, this is mostly the preset. The preset already sounded pretty awesome. So without the mixing I've done on it, it sounds... That is mostly coming from that preset that I've got. Here's the name from the preset as well. What actually then makes the sound here for me is something very cool. So first of all, of course, I put on OTT. So that's a multi-band upwards, downwards compressor, and it makes everything that sounds quiet louder and everything that sounds louder quieter. You probably know OTT, but if you don't, it's an amazing multi-band compressor. And this already gives more compression to it, right? Now here's the secret, which is vocodecs, right? Vocodecs is an actual vocoder in FL Studio, but putting that shit on a sound, absolutely incredible, absolutely mental. You have to play around a little bit with it. It gives it an even more stereo feeling. Like you hear the difference, right? That's without vocodecs, and that's with vocodecs. Nasty. In order to make it like kind of like pull you back and pull you in and like pull you back, pull you in and pull you out, I've created a reverb automation, like a Valhalla reverb automation. So it's like pulling you, going up here, and then especially works great on these kind of like metallic FM sounds, right? If you of course use it in the right way, and it has to fit to the track, and that way it's... That's exactly what I heard for that sound. The thing that makes it very ISOxo-ish is of course the lead sound. So for this project, I've already exported the lead sounds here as a WAV file. Otherwise, again, my CPU would die immediately. To show you what it sounds like or what it looks like in Zerum, it is also a preset that I used, but I altered and changed it a little bit. I also automated the pitch in the beginning, so it goes up. It's kind of like, right, there's like a pitch curve going on here. So what I done here, again, I already exported it to a WAV file, so I deactivated the plugins in that way. But I've added an OTT again. I've added a bit of reverb on it as well, the Valhalla Vintage Verb, with just like the wet up to 25-27% here. And also cut out some some frequencies with the EQ after I exported it because I felt like it is a bit too much going on there. And this tremolo effect, I think, oh no, that's like a thing that doesn't even come to life in this project. Sorry. So that's basically it. It didn't change that much. And I love that fill. Fills are so crucial. If your fills are good, the song is good. I love triplets in for the kick, and when a kick makes triplets, right? It's pretty simple, very simple. So the triplets have to be in combination with a sidechain. All the instruments that are playing here are basically sidechained to the kick. So every time the kick hits, the instrument goes like in that shape. You can see it, right? Without the sidechain, I can turn it off. It sounds like that. So you need sidechain, right? And for that track, it is great, or for that kind of like style, it is also great to make like big sidechain cuts and let the curve come up like very, very slow and very curved. The curve is curved, right? That's what a curve is made for. And then this triplet goes into a very cool fill sound here, which is, oh my God, I love it so much. A very essential at the end of this fill is the zap. So is that little zap here. That gives like kind of like that closing sound to that. Like now we know that fill is like kind of close, right? And it can, no problem guys, it was just my empty bottle of, yeah, it is empty, but there was protein shake in it. Right, it gives like a kind of like a closing effect to like now this fill is over. So without it, it sounds like that, right? And there's something missing, like it's, I need like a, I need something, like I need a, what the fuck's happening to my voice? I need like a closing sound at that point, and that is what this zap sound here is doing. And to the fill sounds in general. So for the FM growl, I mostly use the preset, which sounds like that. In FL Studio, yeah. In Zerum, it looks like that. So it's basically a square shape and a sine, and the FM goes from B to A. There's also some drive, so the LFO here is linked to that drive. So in this kind of shape, the drive is hitting and then it flows out again. So with it turned up fully, it's just too much. So we need kind of like a guidance and a shape that is telling the drive to like go full up, but then go down again. I added some stuff to it. So first of all, I added the decapitator here again, which adds a little bit more drive, and I increased the brightness, the tone brightness here. As you can already hear, there's like a whole new layer coming to it. And then we have the OTT, 43% with the depth. To make it fitting to the whole track, there was a little bit too much going on in the lows and in the mids for me. So this is like the sound. I had to cut out like a lot of the lows and the mids around here. And just make the highs come out a little bit more. So it's more, it was too full in that for that fill for the rest of the track. Also sounds better now with that fill together with that little, okay, that's with the reverb, but I don't know why this reverb is on, because that's not fitting it for that one. Whatever. So see, I'm working a lot with presets, but sometimes it's about using these presets and making them work for you in your own way, in your own style. And it's great to use presets also if you are learning how to make certain sounds in certain tracks, right? And from there on, you can like learn from the presets and learn how they made, and starting to understand how to create these sounds and instruments yourself. So my philosophy is always like, if I find a good preset, I use it, and then in the mixer, right, I'm putting on some effects and experimenting with some effects and some shit on it that I would think like make, or that actually sounds and make the sound more dope and greater. My English is absolutely stunning. All right, so this is how the track goes on. What I've done here is I put some repetition in, right? It's, if we want to have a track that's kind of like sticking with the people, and that's memorable, right? And that we can like remember it in a better way, we want to have repetitions in the track as well. And even if we're making hard-hitting shit like that, trying to put in some melodies, some call, answer, call, response things, or just melodies that slightly like appear again or in a slightly different version or repeat themselves. So what I've done here is I used the same kind of like metal synth from the beginning, like that one, but just let it play a slightly different melody. It's like, and then it goes down. So here it's basically happening in the same octave, like every tone. And here I'm going 1 octave lower with that one, right? So it's like kind of gives us that cool like effect here. And also it's the same, almost the same reverb automation. What makes it special again is the zaps, right? The little zaps here in combination with the synth. And I'm also letting the snare play one time here, so it's all hitting at the same time, like this, the snare and the zap, and this gives it kind of like a cool stopping effect. And to make the stopping effect even more, I put in a bass stopper actually, which is that one here. That is the bass stopping sound. So in Serum, without the effects I put on, it sounds like. So in the mixer, I added some stuff like definitely Decapitator to make it hit even harder. Oh shit, it's auto saving right now. So that adds like more drive, more distortion to it. It's great to use Decapitator for that. It's amazing. It gives that kind of analog sound. And then I pushed, right? I put on a clipper and I pushed the clipper, like the threshold, the limit of the clipper down to -3 and pushed up the volume of the sound. So that is, there's like the ceiling right now for the clipper, right? That's like the maximum. Like imagine like the sound wave, that's like we're pushing the clipper down, so that's like the maximum it can go. So when you actually push up the sound then and it goes too loud, or like the sound wants to go over that limit, it starts to clip and it starts to like distort, like digitally clip and distort in that way. We try to avoid that very often when we are doing, especially when we're mixing. But in this kind of genres, like this digital clipping can sound very, very dope in certain cases. And this is why this sounds so cool. Without it, you can hear it a little bit less. When I'm putting it on, there's a little bit more like digital clipping happening in the sound. So, right, that's like a cool filler in that way. What I try to achieve is like kind of like having a cool melody. Like, but to make it not sound like too like static and let it play the whole time, I tried to create like cool fills, and that made it more dynamic and sound more interesting in general. Yeah. So, and the next thing is, yeah, that is the next fill. So after that fill, I would go back into the melody. And now again, right, I'm playing with the repetition again. We hear that hard-hitting like bass fake out drop synth bass sound from the beginning again. Playing with the sounds you already have in the project instead of adding too much helps a lot by keeping the track more simple and more interesting in that way, right? More easy to listen to, even if it's that hard of a genre. So this is mainly the drop that I've made, and then I've added some. So the drums are a lot of shit happening here. There's an impact sound playing in like 8th notes. Then I have this great Alexia drum loop down here. The snare is kind of like that's like the main snare, like the only snare that is playing, and it's coming through pretty hard. Also because I combined the snare with a sidechain, so I sidechained the snare, right? When the snare is hitting, there's also a sidechain happening. That gives the snare space as well, and it sounds very cool when we have a like short hitting snare, but there's actually a big like sidechain cut happening here. So this is the kick that is playing. What is important for that kick is that we have a very sharp transient, right? So you can hear there's a very high, it's a high transient, like this kind of clicking sound at the beginning. That is the transient, the high transient. And we want to have that for that kind of track, for that kind of genre. We want to make sure we have a high sounding like kick transient from the kick. If I would like remove that, right, that's without the transient. We want to have a hard hitting high transient at the beginning of our kick. Those hi-hats and those cymbal rides combination, the loop, that is giving the actual drive to it, because without it, right, it's crazy. There's something missing. So a lot in these kind of genres, and a lot of the tracks, and also what Skrillex and ISOxo is doing, is very, very good drum work, right? So it's a very good drum work, and we want to make sure we have a driving thing that is like kind of like makes us The drums in that way, they make us bounce. It is actually not the kick, and it's actually not so much the snare. Of course, it's the combination, but this is giving the actual rhythm of the drums in that way. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, I've almost forgot the most important part of one of the most important parts in the drop is the actual metal snare hit that makes it so ISOxo-ish. If you know ISOxo and if you know his style and his music, he almost in every track he got that kind of like metalish snare layer for his snare. So I was lying, that was not the only snare that was playing. I have that. It's an Eliminate sample and it's the perfect name, Perk Reverb Donk 2.
Nice.
I put a lot of reverb on it, right? It's a very long decay, or kind of long decay with 4 seconds, and the OTT again, of course, that gives it that kind of like ISOxo feeling. So ISOxo thing is having a metal snare in your drop, having a kind of like catchy big synth melody, which makes it also, but like a lot of his tracks are in that way. He almost always has this kind of like melodic type to it. In most of his tracks. Okay, awesome. So let's go into the actual intro part. So to be very honest with you, I was sitting on the intro part. I was sitting the longest, I think. I picked a very cool choir sample that I found on Splice. This is like this haunted glass synthesizer, and I think it is Nexus. Yeah, it's an amazing Nexus sample here. Glass hammer. Shout out to my uncle, because I'm using the Nexus from my uncle, so you're seeing his picture here. Also putting some ambience. I put this kind of like rain thunder sound under it. What makes it very ISOxo-ish for me as well is that vocal sample here. That's actually me. I processed my vocal a lot. I exported it already because that was like the biggest challenge for my CPU. I added this tremolo. It's an amazing plugin, the M tremolo. I love that. So I did that as an automation. So it slowly comes in that way. In that part, so what my main goal here is to build tension. Right? My main goal here was to build tension. So I'm building up tension here. Right? As you can hear it. And when it goes into the actual pre-drop, it's a little bit of a release. And from there on, it's building up again. So I'm trying to play with like a build-up, dynamic build-up way. So now, we're getting the drums here. So it's like I'm trying to build the tension at that point. This is my secret sauce signature instrument. I love that sound. What also makes it very ISOxo-ish is a little guitar. Oh yeah, in the build-up part, what I've done is, so I'm working with a lot of risers. You know, I introduce claps and kicks that are playing at the same time. Love the clap sounds. Sounds kind of organic. And what I do here is I already introduce, you recognize? The synth from the drop. That's kind of like the introduction of the sound that is coming in a drop already. All right, so let's get to the second drop part. So we go now from the main drop. I hope my CPU survives. My laptop is doing its best, so send out some love, please. So what is happening here? Oh my god. So first of all, I wanted to create like a completely release, like I wanted to create like a hard like switch that gives us like a little bit of air to breathe, but at the same time being like, oh shit, what is coming now? Having the synth repeating the whole time, it's kind of like building tension. I pitched it up a little bit. Oh yeah, and what is very ISOxo-ish is that, guys, I searched for that sound hours at least 2 hours. And basically it turned out that it's a camera flashing light. You know, before like a flash of a camera, like an old camera is like happening, it would make that kind of like sound. And that's what I found. So what's happening here, right? As it sounds crazy. So basically, what I have here is two amazing fills. We have the growl, the FM growl from the beginning. Then shout outs to Excellent Sound. They are genius. Those guys are genius. They recreate certain sounds, you know, from like Skrillex and other likes, and they actually have free Serum presets. So I got that one, which is recreated from the Xena song from Skrillex. The only thing I did here was just cutting the highs and the lows a little bit, so it's kind of like a more muffled sound, and it's hitting the same time with the FM growl, and it gives that kind of like cool introduction to, oh, something new is happening, like a new job is happening. I was a little bit inspired by Rumble in that part, and it also happened by accident, to be very honest. First of all, what I did here is, of course you can hear it's the vocals playing the whole time, right? So, and to make the vocals a little bit more choppy and to increase the tremolo effect, I already had a tremolo effect on them, and then I put a second one on as well. That is one sound, right? Then I have, yeah, this is what happened. I'm playing a lot with Vital lately. That's like a bass sound that I've created. Like the original is kind of like a wobble bass sound. For that sound, so let's turn on the effects for a second. So as you can hear, there's like a sub under that. What is making that kind of like clicking sound is an LFO that is linked to the volume of the sine wave here, and it has like a notch up here, so it's like that creates like the actual clicking sound, right? Without it, it's just a sine wave, but that little like notch up here, when it's connected to the volume and is like hitting in 16th, and that speed, the volume goes up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. So I just wanted to have that one. So what I've done was I cut out the lows in my mixer channel, so I just have this high clicking sound, and I put on an OTT, of course. And the cool thing is it's playing in 16th, right? What I plan to do here is put as much cool layering on this vocal as possible. So the vocal is playing in 16th. Now we have a layer of this that's playing in 16th as well. What makes a lot in that way is noise, right? I had an amazing noise sample from my friend Emo. It's just like a noise that is playing in the same tempo, right? It's also playing in 16th. The last layer, I think it is the last layer, is yeah. So that is it sounds like that one, but it's basically the bass from that part. It sounds totally different, I know. I already exported it as a WAV file, but what I did was cutting the lows, putting on DC More 2 with this preset here with the ringing bell, which is DC More 2 is a crazy bit crusher distortion plugin, and that's basically the 3 layers that are happening here. This is also very cool. I found this one. I don't know where I got it, because I search, sometimes I just search samples down here in FL Studio, like in a whole like sample collection I have, and I found that one, and which says Joyride Wafx, and I just chopped it up and played around a little bit with the I think I put on OTT and microshift for the stereo effect, right? So that's without it. See what microshift is doing, guys. So that's without microshift, and that's with it. Absolutely crazy. So it's like a detuner, delay, and stereo plugin, stereo width plugin. It's crazy. It's from Soundtoys. So what I was doing here to switch the dynamic a bit is, first of all, in the second part, I was pitching up the vocals. So just going into the next octave. I used the Stretch Pro mode for that. Oh yeah, this is also very cool. This is like I think I finished it yesterday. This is what I just found yesterday. Yeah, I used that as a fill. So the original one sounding like that. And I put on OTT. Cut a little bit of the mids and the lows. What is for these kind of sounds, sometimes what helps is cutting out the mid frequencies and this kind of like area, because it makes the sound feel like it's further away. It's like a little bit more in the back. Without it, it sounds a little bit more in the front. But by just cutting out the lows a bit, like a shelf in the lows, and a little bit of like a curve here in this mid part, by putting them away, they have less presence, and in that case it sounds like the sound is like kind of like further away, and it pulls you a little bit back in that moment. Yeah, so that's what's happening mainly in this second drop. And in the second part, in the second half of the drop, I added fast-paced hi-hats that are playing in 16th. It's functioning as a layer of the vocals, of the main like lead vocals, and the other instruments that are layered with the vocals, so it just gives more emphasis. So the key here, the key thing for me here is, because it's the tracks in itself and like the lead instruments and stuff like that, they are pretty simple, so they are not very full, and there's not a lot of things happening, right? So with these kind of like breaks and, you know, having a zap sound here, or having like having this cool vocal as a fill, we want to bring some dynamic into it. And especially working with vocals and kind of like short sounds, this is what also gives us that Skrillex, kind of like ISOxo Skrillex Eliminate sound, because especially the drums, if your drums are short, very short snare, I even shortened the snare, so it's the same snare, the same kick from the other drop, from that one, but I have shortened them a little bit, because here in this drop we have a lot of like wide sounds and like a lot of big sounds happening, but this drop is actually the exact opposite from the first drop. So that was the breakdown of my ISO Inspi Hard project. I hope you got some value out of that, and you can implement and use that for your own banger projects. If you enjoyed the video and you found it helpful, drop a like, and if you want to see more videos like that and elevate your own productions, then make sure you hit the subscribe button and activate the bell so you get notified whenever I'm coming up with a new video like that. Thanks again for watching, guys. I hope you got inspired, and now create some.